The Sharks lose in Canada for the first time this season. And the West Side Story series still goes to San Jose, but they take a tough one tonight. We'll break that down and more right now. This is Teal Town After Dark. Good evening, everyone. It is November 11th, 2021. We salute all the veterans and remember those who fought for our freedom. We welcome you to this edition of Teal Town After Dark. This is your live and interactive Sharks post-game. We do this after every single game. So if you want to be part of the show, teal together and chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the page or the app. Of course, follow us on the social, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Reddit, Discord, after the game, and after dark, we should say, and find everything at tealtownusa.com. Good evening, everyone. Alongside Al Martinet, I am Erik. Al, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. It's one of those nights where, I'll be honest here, I thought for sure this is the game that we would have seen the first game with everything under COVID protocol and with the guys out. Little out of it, a little sloppy, you know.
You're saying about a little bit gassed.
Yeah, a little gassed. I mean, remember that night, that first game against Winnipeg on October 30th, the Barracuda had played the game night before. This time they just seemed like they were a little tired, a little out of it. Their speed wasn't up to snuff tonight.
And I believe Timo did play against Winnipeg, wasn't it?
He had the game-winning goal in that one in overtime.
So, again, 7 Sharks missing. Erik Karlsson, Vlasic, Timo, LeBanc, and Coach Bob Budner is currently not with the team, but on Saturday will be against Colorado if everything goes well.
Right.
Back on the bench. But still, you're missing almost an entire line, half of a D line, and you're missing an entire line, essentially, an entire D line. So I thought for the last, 7 games, getting 3 wins, 2 losses, and 1 overtime loss is still pretty good for this stretch. It's not going to kill you right now in the standings. It still keeps you pretty competitive in the Pacific,
right?
Which is, far more competitive than what people thought it was going to be going into this season. So honestly, I didn't think they played that bad, but I'm sure we're going to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, 3-2-1 contact for all those older folks, but 3-2-1 is not a bad run with these guys. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, you're playing without 4 defensemen, with a handful of forwards. I mean, it's just, and we're kind of seeing it. Nick Bonino even saying it just now, not to get to the locker room quotes early, but 11 guys under 50 games in the lineup tonight, and you wouldn't know it. The organizational depth is good. Why don't we get to that before we recap the game here? Because now that a lot of these guys are probably going to go away and go back to the Barracuda. I mean, some could be headed to Colorado, some could be headed to Abbotsford, so that way they don't have to cross the border. But let's be honest here. I think they've definitely grown in confidence, in playing. I mean, all around, Al. I mean, you give them big ups. They get the experience that you normally wouldn't expect. Even in a preseason game, you get into a regular season game where it's much more different.
Yeah, I mean, like for 3 games, they didn't have. I mean, for 3 games, they had William Eklund, and around that mark, when they had to send him back to Sweden, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, that's another forward they didn't have in their pocket to use,
right?
And they still got, 2 wins out of the stretch.
3.
Well, they got the one against Winnipeg and then two
No,
later
I,
on.
I I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So, uh, honestly, the depth right now is much better. It's definitely showing its case in Barracuda. Uh, I just the main question, even like we talked about this on Tuesday, is what do you do as Simic? What do you do with Ryan Merkley? Like, what do you do with that conundrum? Because, um, like, I'm in favor of giving Simic a 5 game span of like what he does coming back, but like, I've liked Ryan Merkley, I've liked Middleton, you know, I've liked that pairing because when Middleton was good, like he was with Erik Karlsson, and Erik Karlsson was pretty good before the 30th.
Yeah, I mean, he looked fantastic. Um, we saw the little struggles that Shimmick and Vlasic had, and you look at what they've done. I mean, look, we were praising, Jacob Middleton as to what for being great with Carlson and kind of having that dependable defensive defenseman with Carlson who can do the more offensive work, which we've seen. So, um, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward here, and seeing where what they do, who's ready to go. I mean, like we said, Timo had that game-winning goal on October 30th, and then he went into COVID protocol. So who knows if he's going to be ready to go or not? But the other
Yeah.
thing too is how much the defense has been getting used here. I mean, I want to say that freaking Ferraro played over 25 minutes tonight. Burns has been going for almost. It almost seems like he's playing half the game.
Yeah, so
Way
Burns,
to get that $30 million out.
yeah, so Burns and Ferraro played almost
Or 30 million,
identical.
8 million a year.
So
Sorry.
26 minutes for Burns, 26 minutes for Ferraro. Um, the rest of the D line, like honestly, 18 minutes, 15 minutes, 16 minutes. We're talking just them double shifting Burns and Ferraro,
Right.
and I didn't know how to read Ferraro. I know people say he was up and coming, but I just didn't know how to read him. And I think during this case, you can definitely depend on him a lot more. Um, Again, like I can't see having Brent Burns play 29 minutes a night. Even with Erik Karlsson before he went out, he was playing 22, 20, 20-ish minutes. Um, I want them to balance out the lines a little bit,
Yeah.
just to give him a break.
Yeah. I mean, granted, let's be honest. Burns is probably going to play at 20 something minutes a night. All the way through. I can't see him, doing half an hour, but
And
a
like
game.
Burns has played consistently good for the last 7 to 8 games. Like he's
Yeah.
on a 6 game point streak. Um, he hasn't let his game slip, which he did a lot last year.
Yeah. And even tonight with Reimer with 30 saves on a night, I didn't think it was all horrible. And the first tying goal, Benino just didn't grab the guy or get the stick possession. It was just a loose rebound. I'll give Reimer that. It's just a juicy rebound that went right to Connor, and Benino couldn't react to it right away to make it a tie game. But first, Andrew Cogliano gets his second goal of the season from Burns. After Winnipeg looked like they were going to dominate this game early on. I mean, Winnipeg looked rested and ready to go. The Sharks looked a little tired, to be honest.
I mean, it's a continuation of the last 5 minutes of the Calgary Flames game, where the Sharks were just playing to hold that lead, and luckily they did. They won that game, and that was mostly on Hill's performance, but they carried that last stretch into tonight's game. And honestly, like this should have been more of a blowout than it really was. Uh, um, I mean, I just spoke about Brent Burns. Like he made a great heads-up play to give Conquiado that easy tip and goal. But if it wasn't for that, we'd be talking 3-0, 4-0 at this point.
Yeah, and they stayed with it. That's the thing. They looked, while they looked a little out of it or slow, they stayed with it. And after 20 minutes, it was tied up at 1. Then the second period, we saw a fight with Gadjevich and Lowry. Lowry was having issues with Hataka or Hataka, however you want to pronounce it. And it was like it was getting out of hand, and they were taking liberties here. We saw that Lane Peterson didn't return to this game, and that kind of put a little bit of a crunch into the lineup.
He didn't play in the third period, right?
No, he didn't play in the third period. He got hit after he bounced the puck off, and as he was trying to clear it out, and then he took a shot from Stanley. Stanley was running around. I mean, the Jets. I mean, let's be honest. The Jets game, they're making sure that they're finishing their checks this season. To be honest, here,
when Patterson went off, it was the Sharks down another forward, and you can tell the Sharks could not sustain any offensive pressure. Just kind of taking a quick look at the shots in the second period, the Sharks had only 8 shots. It felt like Winnipeg had way more than just 13, but they sustained the play a lot more. And once Patterson went off, and we're not talking like anyone that's substantial or anything, we're just talking about a depth forward. But once he went off, it was clear that Winnipeg was going to have this game going forward, and they scored 2 quick ones.
Yeah, they get 2 goals in a matter of 5 minutes at near the end of the period. Schmidt off the draw from Morrissey and Wheeler. That made it 2-1. And then you had Hawkins get a late goal from Lowry and Kopt at 19:16 to make it 3-1. So those 2 big goals, and let's be honest here, coupled with some blind officiating here. We tweeted out on the Teal Town USA Twitter, which we always do, some questionable non-calls. But the other one that I found was that the Ryan Merkley and the Toninato scuffle, they went, it is Thursday night. It used to be when SmackDown was on. So, I will take you down next week, brother. But one of the things is that you see one of the officials saying, okay, that's enough. And then he kicks the back of Ryan Merkley. What in the world are you doing, bro?
Yeah, I mean, it was really out of place. I didn't think he with force kicked him. It was more just it was more of a tap, a get up, plays over. But if it was a legitimate with force to the head, we'd be talking a lot more about it. When it comes to officiating, especially in the regular season, for a game that's in early November, I don't honestly think it impacts the game too much. I just don't think the Sharks put themselves in a great opportunity tonight to get those chances, to get those 50-50 plays. So as much as people want to say the Ryan Merkley thing, honestly, the way I look at it is it's just 2 players going at it, and both being a little bit stubborn, and and both of them slashing each other. And I thought, instead of giving one penalty to another team and having them, I just think it was a better call to just lay off of it.
Yeah, they each both got roughing calls before Winnipeg took it over. But the other one too that I was interested in was that Dubois holds up Merkley's stick, then pushes him down, and then as they're pushing each other, as Merkley's trying to grab Dubois' stick, was like, well, you're taking my stick, I'll take yours. Then he free-willingly just swings his stick around and gets Merkley right on the knee. And I'm like, come on, people. I mean, I'm not going to complain about officiating, but my God, come on. This is ridiculous that they're that much of an angel. And our good friend Chester Tivo, can a team collectively win the Lady Bing asking for the Jets?
I don't know. Uh, the officiating wasn't as bad as the classic Angel Hernandez of MLB. So
Oh, you went there. Damn.
let's just hold it off for a second. I mean, yeah, there were questionable calls here, but there's always going to be questionable calls even in the best of games. So I didn't really see much of an issue with how the game was officiated. I think it was just more or less keeping both teams from spiraling it out.
Yeah. All right. So we do have some comments coming in, and this one's a very interesting one coming out from Merkley and AJ. Can you give us clear about if that was Ryan or Nick Merkley? Because I'm more comfortable, confident each game. It's been an unexpected surprise. Got 6 big games going to Abbotsford tomorrow. Abbotsford is where the San Jose Barracuda will be playing this weekend. And, like we were saying earlier, Al, it's 6 games, it's 6 regular season games of experience, which is nice to have. And hopefully just to helps prove it a little bit more and give them confidence down the road. What would you say about Ryan Merkley's time here?
I think he's made a really convincing case to keep him up, and I don't want him to be the next Sharks 7th D line or 7th player you scratch. If you're going to keep him up with giving him some actual playing time. There's plenty of defensemen that I would probably send down, like Hataga, Magna, Malosh. Sorry if I'm butchering those names, but I would definitely target those 3 when we actually get a full unit back. But the concern about Ryan Merkley wasn't for me about him. It was more about how he would fit for the rest of the team, because Ryan Merkley is the typical offensive defenseman with. You're going to need to pair him with another strong defensive guy. And, of course, we have Brent Burns, Erik Karlsson already. So if that's the direction you're going to go, is the defense going to suffer is the main thing with Ryan Merkley. And I don't think it has. But during the stretch, he's played against New Jersey. What was it? Carolina, or we could just go through the stretch, and you can just kind of tell that honestly, the defense has played pretty well, but also they've also been backed up by good goaltending performances by Hill and Reimer.
Yeah, and you talk about it tonight, even though it was in a losing effort. 30 saves on the night for Reimer, 909 save percentage. The goaltending is outside that one game, I think, against St. Louis, the goaltending has not been an issue here with the Sharks. You could say it's been a myriad of things here and there, but I mean, just some things didn't click. But I mean, this team has shown that it can play with the big guys. I mean, you look at Winnipeg, you look at Calgary. I mean, that was a big win against the Flames on Tuesday night. You look at their opponents that they've played, they play them very hard. Yeah, they didn't beat the Bruins, but they play them fairly well, especially late in the third period. So I'm pleased with how this team has come together, and with the guys coming back. And here's the other thing with the guys that are coming back, Al. Are they going to be ready? That's the big thing with the COVID, is that are they going to be ready to go from game 1, or are they going to need to get their lungs going again? And especially your next game is in Denver, where your lungs are already going to be burning pretty badly.
I mean, the good thing is that the Sharks kind of caught a break here with Colorado, because Nathan McKinnon is going to be out for the next 3 to 4 weeks with a classic lower body injury. Colorado has kind of been an early disappointment this season. I know they're going to probably bounce back, but if they don't bounce back early, that's another team that you would kind of keep a head coach potentially on the hook for, just to see if they can kickstart their season. But like that team is still loaded, um, and should be pretty good because this is their time. If anyone is a fan of Cap Friendly, they know the fact that Nathan McKinnon's contract is about
I think I heard it was like 6.2 million.
Okay, 6.2 million for a guy that is a top line center
Yeah.
and is a Hart candidate every year for the next 2 years. So,
Yeah.
um,
That you talk
like,
about a great deal.
like I want to say that like if Colorado does not get it done for the next 2 years, it's kind of over for them. Like not over, but like this is their chance.
So Al, you're basically saying the Sharks will go after him in 2 years. Is that what you're getting at, Al?
I wish we had the cap for it, but the longer point is that Colorado, if this was the time to face Colorado, it is now. And sure, Timo, Erik Karlsson, the rest of the team that's been off for they're going to need some games, but it's I would rather see Colorado right now than any other team right now.
Yeah. And that being said, I have the game on right now, and Colorado's leading 6-1 on Vancouver in the third period here. So let them get their goal scoring out of the way here. I mean, that's the Sharks' next opponent there. But on this night, 3-1 the Sharks lose to the Winnipeg Jets. They're now 7-5-1 on the campaign. So let's continue with some of the comments we got in the locker room here. John McLean, not James McLean, as we apparently saw. We had chances we weren't able to bury. They got power plays we didn't. Just didn't go our way tonight. Sometimes on the road in loud buildings, you don't get the calls. I wonder what he could be mean by that. We were in it the whole way. A couple of bad reads let it going to the other way. Didn't get a power play, but our kill was good. And that's the other thing.
Yeah.
Al, in the last 6 games, let me get the stats up here if I can. Maybe not. Thank you.
We do. While you're doing that, I mean, like the penalty kill has still been consistent. It's still number 2. Last time we've kind of it was still number 2 before the game started.
Right.
And it's kind of returned to form from previous seasons. Although I will say that the power play has kind of returned to form from previous seasons also. I think this is now the 4th game in a row where the power play hasn't, scored a goal. So
they didn't get a chance tonight to do it. So, but yeah,
I know, but I know that's cherry picking, but I just hopefully the power play picks up sooner or later, but it wasn't looking good against Calgary. It wasn't looking good against New Jersey. That's just one thing to keep an eye out going forward.
No, you're right. And it's pulling up the stat now. They are now 15 of 15 in their last 6 games on the penalty kill. So getting back to where they were a couple of seasons ago as the number 1 penalty kill in the league. Granted, you lost Barclay Goodrow during that time, but kudos to them turning it around and playing hard against a solid defense.
Yeah, I mean, I know Reimer's save percentage is going to take a hit tonight, but like it wasn't a bad night for him. And I just wish the Sharks were more consistent on offense, but like again, losing Pettersson halfway through the second period, already down 7 Sharks. I thought this was a okay effort for all things considered. You're still coming out with 3 wins with this COVID stretch, and probably not the only COVID stretch we're going to go through this season. considering all things.
Yeah.
Knock on wood,
I
but
mean,
like,
you look at Ottawa now. Ottawa has 8 players out uh, with this stretch going on for the Senators. So we'll talk about them as we get into the wraparound. But continuing on with the comments here, they from Gadjevich tonight. They had a couple runs at us. I wanted to try to get us going, spark us a bit, just trying to do whatever I can. That's one guy who I think is going to stay up. I don't think he's going to is going to go to the Kuhre per se, because I mainly because one, Jeffrey VL is still not available, but I think they need a guy that's going to be a bump and bruiser down the road, especially until Middleton gets back.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind him. Also, did you say Balsters or Pedersen?
No, I'm saying Gadjevich
Guy.
might be a good thumper to have until Middleton gets back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more concerned about what they're going to do with Balsters, like, because I've really liked his game for the last 2 or 3 games, but where does he fit, especially with LeBanc coming back? How does the line chemistry come back to it? Because LeBanc is going to be on your left or right. Is Bonino now going to shift back to his third or fourth line? And how are they going to? Are they going to make Hurdle back up to the first and 2 lines? Because for this past little stretch, they've kind of made Hurdle more of a depth center just because they needed the offensive punch.
Right. And like AJ saying, maybe you take Bonino and Weatherby at center on the third and fourth lines once everybody is back. I mean,
yeah.
Again, it depends on who's going to be in the back in the lineup and ready to go against Colorado on Saturday night. So we'll see how it goes. Ricky Martin Slager saying I'd take him over Pedersen at wing, but Peterson, excuse me, to me at center. See, that's what happens when you have the other game going on back here, because you see Pedersen. My bad, folks. But Peterson, to me, at center has done a lot of little things really well. His own exits, entry shots, way up at center. So we'll see how it goes. And again, this is all going to be interesting to see. The team is flying down to Colorado tonight. Bob Bugner and the 7 players who were out with COVID are going to Colorado tonight, if not already there. They will practice tomorrow, and we'll see how everything goes, and we'll go from there. But definitely, no matter what, there's definitely going to be a new lineup in some form on Saturday night when this team takes on the Avalanche.
Yeah, tonight was Reimer, and it wouldn't surprise me if Hill gets the start on Saturday night, which he definitely deserves it, especially against Calgary. If you had any concerns about Hill, I think they were pretty much put to rest against the Flames. But it should be an interesting game for less.
Yeah. That game will be Saturday night at 6 p.m. in Denver. We'll be on, of course, after the game to break it all down with you. One more quote from John McClain. I'm pleased with the total effort during all of this COVID protocol. They put effort in. Everyone got good opportunities. Fair or not, they learned trial by fire.
Trial by fire.
I mean, not kidding on that one. And let's be honest too. It was trial by fire, especially that first game. So we'll see. The players and Bugner flew out to Denver this afternoon, so they're already in Colorado tonight. They'll be waiting for the guys to get there, and we'll see what happens now. So,
yeah, I mean, like, I would say we've kind of talked at length about the Sharks' defense, but I'm more concerned about what the Sharks are going to look like under Bob Bugner now, because 6 games is not really a large sample size, but I've kind of liked John McClain. I want to say John McClain so much, but I kind of liked the way the Sharks have kind of looked these past games, and if the Sharks kind of get off to a rough start, and bear in mind the next 5 games are kind of rough. We're talking like Colorado, Minnesota, St. Louis, Washington, and Carolina. That is a pretty rough stretch. But if they get off, if it starts to extend further than that, and they just get outplayed for most of those games, I wonder if there might be a locker room, dual coach thing that happened against that happened for Montreal in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're getting at, because you wonder if the chemistry is going to be far off, and this is the other thing too is the other thing with it, again, you're playing, in Colorado, high altitude, so we'll see what happens there. Now granted, I think Bugner's been on like the speakerphone. I think McLean said speakerphone one time during this run that he's kind of been watching it and such. And in fact, even when Bugner spoke with the media the other day, his family or his parents were in town, and he went to a hotel room so to let them get out of town and head back home, just to keep isolating from everybody so they weren't in the way. So again, it'll be interesting to see, but
I mean, he can still do that, and I think that's great that he's doing that. But there's just being in the locker room and knowing how it is on ice is far different than just watching it on TV.
True. And it's kind of being the eye in the sky, per se. While Madden and Ricci and McLean are behind the bench there. So that puts a bow on this one. 3-1 the final. The Sharks lose to the Winnipeg Jets. They head to Colorado right now. It'll be interesting how this one turns out. So we'll give you a quick wrap around on this one. Colorado is annihilating the Canucks, and they just scored again. So it is now 7-1 Colorado late in the third period there. The Golden Knights are up 2-0 on Minnesota. The Kraken are losing to the Ducks 2-1. The Oilers beat the Bruins 5-3. Pretty much the only team losing besides the Sharks in the Pacific Division tonight. Calgary loses to Montreal 4-2 in that one. Kings shut out the Sens 2-0. The Islanders get shut out by the Devils 4-0. The Devils off to a nice start. Penguins give the Panthers their second shootout loss of the season 3-2. The Capitals shut out the Red Wings 2-0. Orlov and Eller, the game winner in that one. Fucale with the shutout there. The Blues lose in overtime thanks to Matt Duchesne's 2 goals. 4-3 in that one for the Nashville Predators, winning that one. And of course, the Sharks lose to the Jets 4-1 with the empty netter. Whoops, 4-1. Oh boy. So that will do it for us. Now, in case you missed anything, or do you want to watch this again, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and of course, always available at tealtownusa.com. So, a rough one for the Sharks. They go 3-2-1 with the Sharkcuda in there. We'll see who is available for the Sharks on Saturday night. That's a 6 p.m. start against the Colorado Avalanche in Denver. So, with that, we will wrap things up. Al, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate you. Again, like I said off the air, nice quarter zip hoodie. Really like it.
Yep.
Very nice.
Always great to talk to you. You can find me on Twitter at Martinet. I'm always talking hockey. Looking forward to Saturday against Colorado.
Yep, it'll be a good one. As for us, we'll see you following that game. I'm at PuckGuy14 on the Twitter and the Instagram. We thank you very much for watching us. The conversation now continues on the Discord, so jump on over there. And until Saturday night. Keep it real. Keep it teal. Keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. We will see you Saturday following Sharks and Avalanche.